Good afternoon, everyone. Very pleased to be your host for the next 30 minutes as part of the B2B Forum on Energy, Infrastructure and Construction, organized by the Chamber of Commerce of the ASEAN region. Let's start now. Philippe and I will go through the next gen ASEAN infrastructure and how to optimize the construction of infrastructure using the design for manufacturing approach, and how Dextra as a company intervene and is a player into that process. So I'm Hervé Lemoine, I'm the Managing Director of Dextra. Philippe, sitting next to me, is our Regional Sales Manager looking more specifically into Southeast Asia. So first, a quick outline of the subjects we will be touching this afternoon. Very briefly, I will give you an overview of Dextra, our group, who we are and what we do. And then I will show you how a design to manufacture approach in construction can improve efficiency, sustainability, and safety for energy and infrastructure projects. So let's start. Very briefly about Dextra. So we are a French company with the particularity to be established and headquartered in Southeast Asia since 1983. Actually, our home base is Bangkok, Thailand. And we are now from Asia operating worldwide with various facilities, manufacturing facilities in Thailand, in India, and in China, and around 900 collaborators worldwide. So just to illustrate a little bit for you what we do, we are in a business of what we call connectivity and structural integrity for construction. So what it means we have many solutions, technical solutions that we design and manufacture, which are going inside those infrastructure that you see and that you use every day. So starting from what we call concrete reinforcing products, which are solutions to connect reinforcement into concrete structures. Then we have a range of solutions for that we call engineered bar systems that are mostly to support roof, facade, as well as to put a structure into tensioning, like a bridge structure, as well as ground anchoring. And then we have a specific geotech product line, so solutions to anchor those structures into the ground and to stabilize the ground, solutions for tunneling, like rock bolting. So to illustrate a little bit further what I just said, here you can see a representation of those products which are manufactured here in Asia and installed and distributed throughout the world, knowing that infrastructure is a main activity. Infrastructure projects are the main type of projects where Dextra is involved. So moving on to where we take part in the construction projects, as you can see, is a little bit worldwide. This is where we are participating to projects or where we have permanent teams on the ground to support our clients and projects. And this is a brief overview of contractors and consultants, all the industry partners that we are working with hand in hand in various projects, being energy infrastructure, of course, in ASEAN, but also elsewhere in the world. So, and now I will leave Philippe talking to you about efficiency and how this DFMA approach for infrastructure projects can enhance efficiency for your project.
Okay, then good afternoon, everyone. So I'll be trying to be efficient in talking to you about efficiency in construction, and we will basically cover that topic from the approach of the DFMA. For those who are familiar with that acronym, it's Design for Manufacture and Assembly in Construction. So that means that we will, from the beginning, I mean, from the design stage, actually consider the easiness of manufacturing the elements or the part of the construction, and at the same time how to assemble those parts all together. We will see later, we will be talking about prefabrication, off-site fabrication. So there is an issue with the assembly of what has been manufactured off-site. So this is why we call it a design for manufacture and assembly. To start with, actually, we have listed basically the main concept that needs to be addressed actually in pursuing this efficiency, and it starts actually with the definition and the observance of the construction standards. So I will not go through them extensively because you're probably familiar with them. The idea behind actually is that there are a group of players in the construction accepting actually a certain number of standards that may vary from region to another. And the idea to start for this DFMA approach is to follow or comply with established and well accepted standards. This is basically what we, of course, do at Dextra in all of the markets we are approaching. Once the standard actually is being defined and accepted, okay, we move to the next step that we tend to call generally BIM, and which is a principle supported by softwares that help actually from the design stage actually to anticipate all the future construction constraints that you may be facing during the production of the building or the tunnel or any construction. And we are also, of course, supporting with a certain number of what we call library that can help, or that will help designer actually to integrate product. It's true for Dextra, but the idea behind here is that it must be true for the entire scope of the construction. And this is to us the second step that needs to be observed to ensure actually a better preparation of the construction, and maybe more important than others, to anticipate if there will be any issue, okay, on site before the actual construction and the actual production of the project. Okay, so pursuing in this search of efficiency, actually in practice, we see it as starting from in our business. From the rebar processing. You know that rebar is an important part of any concrete construction, because concrete never goes without reinforcing steel. So the rebar processing actually starts off-site. Okay, the idea here is to have a better control in a clean environment. You can see here a workshop that is covered. So if it's raining, there is no issue on the processing of the rebar, and the better environment actually helps to actually be more efficient in the preparation of the steel rebar, which are a straight bar at the beginning, but that will be eventually bended and assembled to eventually arrive on site. Okay, so the first step in the process is this rebar processing. If we move on to the second step, this is what we call the prefabrication. Okay, so prefabrication actually is a pre-assembly of elements off-site. Okay, generally off-site. Okay, it will happen on-site, but the idea here is to do it off-site in again a controlled environment. And so that the well-calibrated and the well-assembled, how to say, a group of rebar, for example, caging in this particular case, arrive ready to use on site. That's one of the part. We've seen the rebar cutting, the cage fabrication. The next step, and beside this prefabrication will, of course, and more cover the precast. Okay, typically to cast concrete, you have two solutions: it's either you cast in situ or you precast it in a yard next to the job site, or again in a precast factory controlled environment. Okay, that will help actually to have a better control and monitoring of the element that you are producing. Okay, if we move on actually with this prefabrication concept in control environment, the next step of this process is to go to the modular construction. Modular construction, I'm sure you've heard about it. Actually, it's the latest evolution of the prefabrication. We started with precast, 2D element like a wall or a slab. And then step by step, we are moving towards cubicles, towards complete rooms or 3D volumetric elements, which are not only pre-assembled, but which could be also pre-decorated. Typically, we have people here from Singapore. You are familiar with the HDB units, and more the PBU, actually the prefabricated bathroom unit, okay, are pre-decorated and pre-finished off-site and bring to the site for assembly. Okay, and this is only one example because the modular construction actually is booming. It's taking more and more, becoming more and more popular, and this is definitely a trend and the latest evolution of the prefabrication concept. Okay, last but not least, but maybe this is another story beginning, is a 3D printing, of course. That is still quite new, not yet widely used, of course, but it's definitely something that must be considered in the construction industry, because step by step we will see more and more application for this 3D printing. So just to illustrate a bit what I'm talking about, we have here the example of a project we are currently doing in Bangkok, and which is an elevated metro line. It's called the pink, and the yellow basically is the same concept. And here typically we will see actually what we call the guideway beams, those big beams actually that are will be supporting the train, the rolling stocks, and which are prefabricated, pre-assembled, and brought to site to be combined together with the main pile of the elevated railway. Sorry. So this is just an example of application among others of this prefabrication approach of the job site. Another project here in Bangkok, also in Bang Pakong. This is a power plant, and you can see clearly that all the column and beam are prefabricated, okay, and be assembled actually directly on site. Okay, so in order to do that, and this is where we come into play. In order to do that, you need to develop certain solution, okay, because those precast or prefabricated elements will need to be assembled on site, and you need specific connectors, okay, to actually allow the assembly of this separated element. So we have some illustration here of what we do. We call it coupler, actually, in the rebar cage that you see on the picture on the left. Okay, so it is, I would say, the DNA of Dextra. On the right-hand side, you have an evolution of the coupler. We call it a coupler, and that is a specific sleeve that we use for the precast. So to illustrate what I just showed you minutes earlier, we have developed specific connectors actually to help the assembly on site of the precast element which have been fabricated offsite. Okay. If we move on, just to continue to illustrate the solution that we bring, we have here the example of a rebar cage assembly on site with the help again of a coupler. Okay, that is this one is a bit elaborated version of our coupler, but then again, these are products, okay, that accompany this trend of prefabrication of site, assembly on site. Okay, so you need necessarily connector, you need a product to be able to finish on site what has been started off site. Okay. Another aspect of this design for manufacture and assembly approach, okay, is that basically you reduce the number of workers. Okay, since a lot of elements have been first are pre-engineered, but they've been fabricated, pre-assembled off-site. Of course, when it arrives on-site, there is less need of labor to do the final stage of the construction. On the other hand, we tend to believe that it requires a more skilled worker than what it is today. Okay, as you can see, in this picture, the workers are not here to carry bags of sand. Actually, they are here to assemble quite accurate elements to finish up the building or any construction that they are doing. So the level of skills of the worker definitely will have to be uplifted to be able to finish actually this work that started offsite. Okay. And finally, if we look some sort of a conclusion of what has been shown minutes ago, basically at the end, and this is why we are talking about efficiency, at the end of this cycle, actually, the result is that you have a much faster cycle of your construction. Okay, I think it's been already demonstrated that precast allow to accelerate the cycle in the construction site. Not only precast, actually, the fact that you follow standard, there is no surprise actually in the delivery that you will do on site. The BIM conception actually allow you to anticipate actually future problem. And if you have no problem, of course, you have less downtime on site. And then, of course, all the series of off-site processing, okay, with the prefabrication, help you actually to develop a project faster, so improving the overall efficiency. Voilà, that's about it for this part. I'll pass the floor to Hervé again.
Thank you, Philippe.
Talking to you about sustainability.
Thank you, Philippe. So actually, the DFMA process, when implemented for construction, for infrastructure, doesn't have only benefits as far as efficiency is concerned, but also is beneficial in terms of the sustainability of your project. And it starts again from the design stage, because when we share a digital model of the structure that we intend to build, obviously this shared 3D model can be shared among different locations, remote locations. People don't necessarily have to meet physically in the same place. It's all on the digital platform, meaning less drawings, no more paper to print, and we can also learn and replicate, copy-paste some part of those structures for future projects in an efficient manner. So it actually reduces and optimizes the design cycle and makes it sustainable, because there is no carbon emission when people have to travel here and there. You can actually design a project with teams somewhere in one country in ASEAN, and project delivery can take place elsewhere in the world without necessarily having the teams meeting. So that's one of the first aspects. obviously, when we talk about sustainability and environment in construction, it's important to remember that concrete, that's mostly, I mean, the cement, water, and aggregates, is actually one of the most widely consumed man-made material on Earth. So, and the production of cement and the production of concrete is highly polluting and is a big contributor, unfortunately, of carbon dioxide emissions. And that's true also for steel. So in general, reinforced concrete is not great for the environment. However, it's still a very efficient manner to build our infrastructure. We haven't found better so far. Now, having said that, this is where we can bring. There are existing solutions to reduce the consumption of this material, being steel material, rebar in that case, what you can see in the picture, but also concrete material by using a different kind of construction material, elements, accessories, which will optimize this consumption for your project. So, of course, another aspect is with off-site manufacturing, then you have much less activities in the construction site, which are big emitters of particles, of dust, again, of carbon dioxide. And one can imagine the difference between what you see in those pictures and sites that we have seen earlier on, where the activity is focusing on assembling elements which have been made in factories. It's much less disturbance for the immediate environment and for the people nearby. So when we look about what's available in terms of innovative technical solutions to reduce this impact on the environment and optimize the consumption of material, one of those solutions is the rebar connector, the couplers that we talked about, and I will develop that in the next slide. Another solution is eventually to consider the complete substitution of the steel material with an alternative that is potentially a composite alternative. So talking about accessories that can optimize your rebar consumption on site, on top of facilitating the connection of those elements on site. These are examples and calculations when you implement and use rebar coupler on projects. Typically, you can save a lot of steel, first on the cutting and bending processing off-site, because generally it's more efficient to do it off-site than to do it in the construction site. You have less wastage. And of course, when you use a rebar coupler and connector to reconnect those elements together, you save what we call a lap splice length. That is the traditional methodology of putting one bar, ensuring the continuity of reinforcement in the construction site, in the construction element, sorry. So you replace that lap splice with a connector. So that means, in effect, less steel is consumed. You have less offcuts, less wastages, and at the end, you are allowed to reconnect easily on site. And I mentioned earlier on about why not going one step further when it is possible and substitute completely the reinforcing steel bars with something else. That's possible now with products like FRP, so fiber reinforced polymers, which are also in the form of a bar that is made of resin and glass, or resin and carbon, depending on the strength you want to achieve. And the beauty of this material is that obviously it's non-corrosive. So it means, in effect, it contributes to reducing the concrete construction also on site, because the concrete cover can be drastically reduced because you have no corrosion possible of the reinforcing of your structure. And Typically, that means also that you save a lot of money into the maintenance and you ensure a longer lifespan of the structure. If you see today, one of the challenges in many markets for many countries and authorities is the renewal and the maintenance and the repair of existing infrastructure made of concrete, reinforced concrete. This picture illustrated it perfectly on the top. Reinforcing steel corrosion is a main issue, and one way to resolve that problem is to substitute that steel with FRP again. And other solutions which are also very innovative for future infrastructure projects, which are already available in the market and in place and been implemented in many ASEAN projects, are using the same material, this composite FRP material, using it for ground engineering, soil retention. I think later on we have our colleagues from and the company MENA will be also developing that further on geotechnical. These are solutions that allow to anchor structure onto the ground and without having to remove the anchor later on. So you can leave FRP material on the ground and still develop future infrastructure next to it, because this material can easily be crushed by excavator, which is another benefit. And last but not least, this material can also be associated with strain gauges. So you can have a complete and permanent monitoring as part of the Internet of Things. You can put sensors into this material to monitor the strength of your excavation, how your excavation is holding up, how is your slope holding up. And so it's also facilitate the maintenance and control for the authorities. So it's never, there is a third benefit of moving into this next gen approach of building infrastructure. And the third benefit, not the least, is actually safety. And Philippe will say a few words about that.
All right, so this is back to me. This is the last part actually of the presentation. That is important, of course. Safety can be seen at different levels. Of course, there is the safety of the people, and right now we know that the safety of many people are at base with all this issue around the COVID pandemic. Nevertheless, there are other aspects also of the safety of people at work. But not only this, also there are the safety of the project itself, the safety of the construction itself, actually. And we'll see here briefly how the standard to start with that will give a clear and stringent specification are here also to ensure the safety of the project. As an example here, it's a project we had in China. And basically, this is to illustrate that safety is important, especially if you consider a nuclear power plant. Okay, we've been going through numbers of tests and certification actually to be able to supply and to enter into this project. Okay, this is because ultimately we don't want to see this project actually create any major casualty, okay, in case anything goes wrong. So it is an illustration that the standards to be observed to develop this type of project is very important. So it goes a bit back to the first part of the presentation, okay, following a clear standard is utmost important actually to ensure the safety of the project. And of course, we can see that sometimes it's a bit set aside, okay, but we want to repeat that this is very important actually to respect actually and implement these high standards on the specification. Okay, another illustration we have here. Okay, this is here a project in the Philippines that is ongoing. Yeah, in the Philippines. that is related to seismic behavior of a elevated railway. And again, around the seismic aspect of any infrastructure work, there is, again, clear standard to be observed and respected, because this is only in following those standards that we can ensure that no casualty will be observed in case of seismic activity, earthquake, okay, for this infrastructure. Another safety aspect that we tend to forget is terrorist attack in this case. Well, it's related to a building, but it can, of course, apply to a bridge or any other infrastructure construction. This is, again, following a certain specification over the behavior of a building or concrete structure under bombing or impact. It's important as well, okay, because whether the standard being observed and or they are not, of course, the result is not the same, okay. This is again this picture to remind us the importance of this specification. Okay, so the next point, actually covering the safety aspect of what we do, is the observance of what we call a quality assurance system. Okay, all familiar with actually, but a quality assurance system that we cover the entire supply chain. And I think it is important, referring back again also to the earlier part of the presentation, it's important to follow that from the conception, okay, until the final delivery of the project. So a clear compliance and a clear observance of a quality insurance system is definitely in our industry also a guarantee, but a strong help to achieve safety from the beginning to the end. Okay. So this is something of importance that we felt it was necessary to mention. On another level, okay, the safety also can be observed and can be enhanced actually with the industrialization of the construction work. Okay, this is again what we've seen earlier on. The idea is that to pre-fabricating, pre-assembly of construction elements actually in a factory, in a controlled environment, will necessarily improve the safety, not only of the workers. Okay, you see here on the picture that you have some sort of a messy job site on the top, whereby you have a very clearly organized workshop on the bottom. Okay, definitely we enhance the safety of the worker. Safety of the worker is one thing. We also, in doing this, enhance the safety of the construction, because at the end, actually, it will be built in a better way, in a more controlled way, okay, than if everything is done on site. Okay, so the trend of all this prefabrication, pre-assembly, industrialization of the construction goes towards the goal of enhancing the safety for the people and for the construction. Last but not least, we saw earlier as well that all this off-site approach, prefabrication, beam approach as well, has ultimately the consequence of reducing the number of labor, the number of workers needed on site. And mechanically, of course, if you have less people on site, you are reducing the risk of accident, okay, or the hazard, other hazard that can be caused by the presence of a lot of people at the same place. Well, it was easy for us to mention the COVID issue right now, but typically it is, of course, easier to implement actually proper, how to say, site access and actually teamwork with a smaller amount of labor than if you have 1,000 of them on a job site every day. Okay, so definitely all this approach of the construction actually help ultimately to reduce the risk of accident or other hazard for the worker. Okay. And I think that's about it for the safety. I will maybe pass the floor back to Hervé.
Thank you,
to wrap it up. Just on time.
Yes, thank you, Philippe. So just to sum it up, what we have seen is that what we start witnessing in some ASEAN countries and markets progressively, in some markets more than others, is the industrialization of construction is already well in process. We see design evolving and specification evolving towards something more shared and more efficient and digital. Definitely, as far as specifications are concerned, we can take the example of infrastructure projects like in Singapore with LTA, where clear sets of specifications are in place, which helps at the end the whole supply chain and the contractors and the suppliers like Dextra to be clear on what needs to be achieved and what needs to be delivered. In terms of BIM, so design, as I said, also this is definitely an efficient way to design your next infrastructure project, so that you can get on board all the players and ensure the buildability of your project ahead by simulating everything on a model and get everyone on the platform and potentially use that for your next project as well. So many benefits for this approach, as we have seen, better structures at the end of the day, which are built on time, which are built on budget, and which ensure the quality expected at times of concept. So basically, that means also a guarantee for a long lifespan and life of the structure. Enhance safety and sustainability, as we have seen. So these industrialization and the investment in providing in more technology and innovative product into construction pays off at the end of the day, not only economically speaking, but also for our environment and for the safety of the stakeholders involved. So that's the best legacy we can have to the next generation. So now I think we are open to Q&A. Thank you very much. We have another slide, I think, after that, which is not showing. Yes, it is here. So this is basically, you can see also if you want to develop further the discussions, we are at your service and we welcome your queries. Meantime, we address some questions. There's been no specific question raised until now.
There are some questions actually. Hervé, yes, I'm just looking at them in the chat.
Yes, we have a chat question. Yes.
Yes, from Julie. Are you able to simulate virtually the connection interface and anticipate clashes before you actually do it on site?
Yes, the answer is yes. The idea of developing libraries for our connectors is typically to that takes into account the dimensions and all the features of the connectors. So those are, of course, a small part of the whole element assembly. But the idea is that by putting those on the beam itself from the beginning, then you are able to validate if there are some issues of clashes. And also, usually when you design 3D reinforcement in 3 dimensions, you will see that you have congestion issues. So this is where you can use those libraries of connectors and replace potentially laps with connectors to resolve those steel congestion issues. Safeguard the ratio of steel to concrete that you need to maintain for your project, as you know. So definitely 3D modeling is the key to simplify execution later on site. And our solutions are available on all platforms, Revit, Tekla, and also on 2D platforms as well. You have another question?
There is another question on the behavior of GFRP, glass fiber, in case of fire.
Yes.
And how do we approach the question of the fire protection?
Well, obviously, glass is an inert material. Resin is not. One thing that needs to be kept in mind that those composite fiber material or bars are embedded into concrete. So at the end, they are never exposed directly to any fire hazard. So they are surrounded by concrete. There's been some tests made to see the resistance of concrete or composite fiber element, concrete composite fiber element, and the fire resistance of such elements. And there is no major difference with the one of steel. Obviously, concrete is the best protection for this reinforcement. There are, however, other restrictions or let's say specific parameters to be taken into account when substituting steel to FRP material, because obviously it cannot be done on a one-to-one basis for the same size, because the behavior of this composite material is slightly different than steel in terms of elongation, in terms of elasticity. So this needs to be taken into account, but we have design tools and support to help you look for those substitution when possible.
Right, and I think we have.
Now we have another question. How much cost saving is usually attained when using rebar couplers instead of the conventional splicing?
I would say at the moment it's actually extremely economical, because I think we see and we witness that there is a very strong increase of raw material costs in general and resources. Iron ore, steel prices are significantly on the rise. To give you a figure, we are witnessing a plus 50% increase in rebar costs, globally speaking, since the end of 2020. That is major. So obviously, when you save steel material using coupler, even though couplers are also made of steel, so the raw material for production is also going up, it's much less in proportion to your increased cost of rebar. So this is, as we speak, very cost effective. This technology is widely available. So when it was relatively onerous, I would say 30 years ago, it is now a mature solution. And we have, so on a one-to-one comparison between the traditional method of lap splicing and the alternative with couplers, couplers will be generally cost effective, especially on a medium to large diameter. And then when you factor in the fact that you can actually optimize your construction cycles and use couplers in conjunction with different type of formwork techniques like a climb beam formwork or slip form. So you don't need to leave any protruding reinforcement to bend it or rebend it. No remedial work on site. Overall, there is a large economic benefit to using coupler.
And if I may add something, actually, there is indeed the comparison apple to apple of quantity of steel being used with a splicing system or with a standard lapping system. But there is also another consequences of using this modern method of splicing is the time saved on site and the method of installation. Because we realize that in many construction, actually, the steel congestion is actually a real issue, a real problem. And we have solutions actually to replace bar band, or to replace actually lapping, of course, with the help of a small piece of steel, while maintaining, of course, the same performance. So I think not only it's a replacement of the quantity of steel, but it's also add up in the method of installation that help to speed up basically the cycle of construction. So this is something that is we realize that is more and more taken into consideration by our clients.
Okay, so normally we have one last question, but I think time's up right now. So I invite you all to schedule meetings with Kun Akve and Kun Philip during the B2B meetings. So they are all welcome to discuss further with you. So thank you so much for your attention. Thank you as well.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for attending.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.